the East Coast, etc., don't want it, but a lot of the Western stations might take it. So it's not pure cut and dry, it never gets seen. I mean, there's some that never get seen. And there's some that get seen a little bit locally, and then there are a few that get seen nationally. We were going down this way, yes.
I'm wondering, do they do kind of thing where they know they want to kind of show, do they sort of fund like maybe 5 of that kind of show, knowing they only will air one of them, like the best one? Is that something they do? I hear about like, other industries, like media industry does that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, ITVS doesn't do that. I mean, ITVS has now, what they've done in the last, I guess almost 10 years now, if you noticed on their website, they have something called links, L-I-C-N-S, L-I-N-C-S, which is basically a link between the producers that they're funding and the member stations. So basically they've said, after this thing sort of didn't work out, well, let's, this is where the power is, let's go back this way. So if you as a producer here say, oh, I also have a relationship with this member station, then that helps you get the money because they know that if you're here, you're going to get at least shown on that one station. In that one station, they have their friends and can get out from there. Do we have any others? Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, so I know you said that they could send to like restricted video for something else to try the routes, but do you know offhand how the internet plays into this?
They do have the internet rights, so it could go up, same as video, could go up on video on demand or Amazon or one of those.
So I mean, like,
usually it goes through their website. Like they have like pbs.org and then like a sub-page that features that show, which can be really beneficial because sometimes those kind of pages, I guess we'll call them, that are dedicated to that show are really fancy and really.
But those are usually the shows they're airing. There is American Public. There is American Public TV that's got the sort of the catalog of lots of shows.
Maybe I was misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So you lose the internet rights when you sell it.
I mean, you can go internet in terms of selling it on the internet. You can go internet in terms of your own site. If the PBS store wants to sell it but not air it, they can do that. Okay. So there's a bunch of different ways to go. None of those is like getting a national air, which is the goal for everybody when we start out with some of these projects. Okay. Anyway, the other, we've said, and Dr. Charles, with all of these, except for this, all of the others we talked about are always going to be sort of co-productions, co-financing. And we're going to look at funding in a couple of weeks when we talk about foundations and all, but that's sort of where that's going to drive us in terms of, yes, we've got a PBS interest and they're going to provide this amount of money, but it's probably still not enough and we have to go out and raise money elsewhere. That's just sort of life in public broadcasting. Occasionally you'll get something where, it's just that kind of idea and they'll buy it at National Programming Service and they'll fund the whole thing, but it's very rare. More often you're dealing here and they're providing some, if not most, and you still have to go out and raise some more money. Okay. Let's see. I think we might be able to do this. The other way in is if you already have a produced film. So let's say you weren't able to get anybody to give you money, you weren't able to get a deal with them, but you just said, I'm going to do this, I have to do this show, I'm going to go do it anyway. And you do it in a way that is what you think is sort of public broadcast worthy in terms of balance, in terms of not having, money from the tobacco industry if you're talking about tobacco or things of that sort of stuff. And you follow their guidelines in their red book. And it's, it's cut for a PBS hour, half hour. You've done all that sort of stuff. And you say, okay, now I'm done. Now I'm going to go try to get some of them to license it. You can go sort of the same thing. You can go to a program strand, which is an extremely long shot because they like to control everything. It's their brand, it's their identity. And just coming in with something, this is saying, well, this is really just like a Frontline show. They're going to say, well, yeah, but it's not a Frontline show. So pretty much you're not going to get anywhere there. You can go to, same thing, you can go to PBS nationally. They're going to have the same kind of reaction usually. It's usually a content problem or a sort of production problem. And again, there's very few slots there, and they like to also can have some editorial control and things that are going out. You can go to member stations, which is, again, the best bet. And you can also do something that helps a lot in terms of not going to 355 stations and having 350 meetings. You can go to what's called the regional network. And basically there are, I think, 5 regional networks across the country, eastern, western, southern, middle, etc., that are basically, again, sort of smaller co-ops of the stations in that area that do sort of program selection and buying, etc., for all the stations in their market. So you can go to one of those, and if they like it, they'll say, okay, we think our stations would be interested in this. Here's our list of what the stations pay per minute. If that's okay with you, we'll sign this agreement and we'll make it available. And if any of the stations pull it down off the satellite, you'll get paid whatever that rate is in the rate card. And then they send out the, you give them the trailer, you give them all the promotional material, and they send it out to all their stations and see who's interested. And it's sort of the best of, for most programs, it's the best thing you've got, because you're going to get just individual station pickup as it is. So I've done both ways, both going national to start with and going that. One's not easy on the other. They take a lot of time, and as we've talked earlier, it's based on relationships. With the programs that are similar to what we're talking about in terms of regions, the most successful one I've done was about skinheads in Eastern Europe, that I did with Gary Griffin, who some of you know. And we did it, we produced it ourselves, and we took it to the whole route. Nobody wanted it, primarily because it was mostly subtitled, and it wasn't American. If it was skinheads in Georgia, it would be great, but skinheads in Czech Republic, So that didn't work, so we started going to the Central Education Network with CEN, which is the regional network for the middle part of the country. There we had great success because many of the towns in that region have big Eastern European populations. So they knew, the programming people there knew that they would have a lot of viewers that would be interested in this topic, even though it was subtitled. So that's, we eventually made our money back on that show that way. So, anyway, I think we're at a good stopping place. So, for next class, please really concentrate on those breakdowns to move forward into the lists and sheets. I think I've brought up, if anybody hasn't done your breakdown yet, make sure you get that to me quickly so I can get it back to you so you can use it to move forward. I think that's it. The assignment will be on Blackboard by tomorrow.
I talked to you last week, though. I'm going to be gone.
Okay.
How would you like to get that? Revision
I need the hard copy, so just bring it in the week after.
Are we going to talk about this, but in other countries and in Europe, or no, not so much?
Not too much. In terms of programming and...
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a lot to cover. Too much, right?
It is. Actually, I've got a new course proposed right now, International Film and TV Markets.
Awesome.
So hopefully next academic year we'll have that to go.